I will put an end to your hunger and thirst. I'll make the world love you, and I will give you complete dominion. Imagine for a moment that someone offered you all this, and imagine for just a moment that they could actually deliver. It'd be enough to make anybody's head spin. I know I'd need a moment to regroup. Well, these are precisely the things that Satan offered Jesus in the desert. If you are the Son of God, command that these stones be turned into bread. When I was in the 8th grade, a sizable group of famous pop singers got together to record a song to raise money for famine relief in Africa. That recording, of course, was the huge international hit single, We Are the World. And it was re-recorded last year to raise money after the horrible earthquake in Haiti. I remember when the original version came out in 1985, being struck by the part in the song where Willie Nelson reminds us, as God has shown us by turning stone to bread. Of course, the reason I was so struck by this was because I knew that Jesus, in fact, hadn't turned stone to bread. I find it interesting that when Michael Jackson and Lionel Richie wrote We Are the World, they actually communicated the exact opposite of that biblical image. Maybe they purposely tweaked it so it would better fit a song about famine relief. Or maybe the songwriters unknowingly mixed up the biblical image. If you think about it, though, it somehow seems counterintuitive that Jesus would not turn stone to bread. If he had, he could have put an end to world hunger right then and there. But he didn't. Then when Satan told Jesus to throw himself off a high cliff and let the angels come to his rescue, he didn't do that either. How much better would it have been if everybody in Judea, throughout the whole world, had witnessed such a miracle? Would there have been room for doubt that this was indeed the Christ? Wouldn't it have made Jesus' saving mission more effective if he'd simply let everyone see his hidden divinity? If he'd just let everybody see him resplendent like the sun, the way he had let Peter, James, and John see him on Mount Tabor? Wouldn't he have sidestepped the opposition, the persecution, and the public execution to which he was later subjected? Not to mention the torture and the executions of his followers after him. And finally, when offered absolute dominion over the kingdoms of the earth, why didn't Jesus accept? He could have simply taken control of human history right then and there, kicked the Romans out of Palestine, ruled Israel and the world with perfect justice and boundless mercy. He could have stopped war for all time and established peace and justice once and for all. In fact, that's what the Hebrew prophets said would happen. And it was because he didn't do this that so many people didn't believe him. And really, can you blame them? We so take for granted the life of Jesus as narrated in the Gospels that we don't always stop to ask ourselves these questions. Why did Jesus do things the way he did them? Why not just accept what the devil offered, albeit on his own terms and for the right reasons? Imagine being offered the satiation of all your hungers and thirsts, the love of the entire world, and complete and utter dominion. It would be enough to make us even hungrier and thirstier, even more preoccupied with how others saw us, and our love of power would become even more insatiable. And maybe that's the key to understanding why Jesus did what he did. In Jesus, God entered human history, not only to lift us to the dignity of gods, but equally importantly, to show us how to be fully human. And the most divine thing we can do is to empty ourselves of our love of security, self-aggrandizement, and power, because God chose to be completely emptied into humanity. Jesus did not turn stone to bread. Instead, he became bread so that our hunger might be sated, and so that we might be empowered to willingly become bread for one another. Jesus did not leap from the cliff or let the angels reveal his glory. He preferred to let his words and his actions reveal the fullness of who he was, even if it meant being hated and broken on the wood of the cross. Jesus' humility and integrity in the face of evil and injustice demand the same of us. Jesus chose not to rule the world from a mountaintop. In fact, he once ran from a crowd that wanted to make him king. Like his heavenly Abba, he chose instead to call all people in the fullness of their freedom and dignity. Like Jesus, and like the God he reveals, we must call one another to fullness of life with deep reverence for one another's dignity and freedom. Let us allow Jesus to be not only the full revelation of the living God, but the model of full humanity through which God wants to be fully revealed in each one of us. And let these 40 days of Lent be the desert where we encounter the Lord who empowers us to reject the empty promises that would distract us from embracing the full humanity of Jesus, through whom God's glory is singularly revealed.